few years. On the other hand, companies have been rather shy or timid in their way of embracing these new technologies for value creation or business transformation. Why is that? Sometimes because of inertia or a resistance to change. A company that is leading and profitable may not see the need for change or for maybe a technology-based type of value creation, value capturing. That creates a gap between where technology is today and corporate use of it. And that gap leads to opportunities for some companies or threats. The two sides of the same coin. If you seize technology and you know how to create value through it, that could become a good business opportunity. But if you don't and others do, then the same technology can become a threat against you. And when I say opportunities, I'm not only referring to digital startups. I'm also referring to incumbent companies in different sectors. Actually, I will share with you a few examples of incumbent companies, traditional physical players, who today, through technologies, were able to reinvent themselves and to lead in terms of market competitiveness. So, these companies have been definitely over-mediated, and we know what is common between them. First of all, these are digital platform companies. These are companies that leverage data, and companies that are customer-centric or more customer-centric than their rivals. And finally, these are companies that have little assets or sometimes no assets at all. Facebook today is the largest media company in the world without creating any content. Uber, the largest taxi company with 2.5 million cars and drivers without employing any chauffeur or owning any vehicle. Alibaba does not carry inventory, and Airbnb offers 3 million different types of accommodation without owning any real estate. So today, the new business model is asset-light or no-asset companies, digital platform strategies, customer-centric type of firms. It's an outside-in approach, providing customers with a value proposition that competitors from the traditional physical business model cannot match. And we can look at other industries as well. Skype today is the largest phone company in the world. Skype has no physical telecom infrastructure. Skype does not pay for spectrum, does not bid for a license. So again, we see here very light cost structure, but at any point in time, Skype has over 12 million customers any time of the day or the night, more than maybe some telcos. Netflix is the #1 entertainment company in the world. Netflix until recently did not create or produce any films. It was rather the online intermediary between Hollywood studios and consumers like us. So, I mentioned data as a unique corporate asset for these companies. And as this slide suggests, data is today the new oil. You can sell oil at $76 or $77 a barrel, but that's crude oil. If you know how to refine oil and how to generate derivative products, then you can make millions or even billions. The same thing with data. Raw data doesn't have a lot of value, but if you know how to extract insights, how to get customer maybe behavior ideas out of data and put in place through predictive analytics a unique one-on-one proposition, then that data can become a gold mine for those companies. Now, to make sure that you are awake, as I said, here is a small quiz to you. This is a survey that has been done for a number of years of the top 5 market companies in the world by market capitalization. My first question to you, when you look at this list, we know the top 5 in 2001, then 2006, then 2011. My first question to you, who are the top 5 companies in the world by market cap back in December 2016? Can I have some answers? I heard Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook. I'm missing one. So far, so good. Alibaba is number 6. Tencent is number 7. Samsung is number 8. I'm missing one. Alphabet is Google, we mentioned that. Microsoft is correct. So the top 5 are all digital technology companies. And as you can see from the market cap value, historically we had $446 billion as the highest. By Exxon in the oil industry, December 2016, it was Apple with $142 billion more of market cap value. Now my question is not December 2016. How about yesterday? As of yesterday, who were the top 5 companies in the world by market capitalization? Would you say the same 5 or different 5? Why don't you raise your hand for those who think it is still the same 5? I see very few hands. Who thinks it's different 5? Can you raise your hand? A majority. But how about the others? Some did not vote either way. Well, the answer, it is still the same 5, which shows sustainability. Now, is it in the same order or a different order? Who thinks the same order? Who thinks the different order? A majority. Definitely. Amazon became number 2. As you can tell, Amazon has become number 2. Apple is close to $1 trillion in market cap value. Amazon, 783, number 2. And as you can tell, Alphabet has become number 4. So when you look at 933, that is quite close to doubling, quite close. Let's say 85 to 90% over only 16 months. So all in all, the market cap value has increased by $1.5 trillion over 16 months. And if you look at Amazon, its market cap value has more than doubled over the last 16 months, from 364 to 843 billion. So again, some food for thought as well. And of course, the question is, who can stop these internet giants? Who can tame them? And who should not be afraid of them? How about if tomorrow Amazon enters Thailand and be present in a number of business sectors? Will this create disruption or not? For sure. I mentioned Amazon. If you look at this company, we'll see in a minute the type of sectors that it is in. But first of all, let me suggest some definitions and why digital today is that important. Because 2 new developments. One is convergence across different information types. Number 2, connectivity. And this morning, there was a mention of the IoT, the Internet of Things, machine-to-machine connectivity, beyond B2C and B2B and C2C. So we see this type of development in technology front. We also see that this technology is disrupting more and more the value proposition and the business model, and therefore the market standing of existing companies. Clearly, somebody's gain may mean somebody else's loss. If these digital companies are grabbing market share, it is definitely at the expense of some of the existing players. So let me ask you this question before I continue. What is digitization? What is digitalization? What is digital business transformation? Why don't you talk to your neighbor and try to share your definition of these with each other? And let's see if there is consensus and convergence, or whether you have different understanding of these terms. So I'll give you 1 minute to say hello to your neighbor and to check your definition of these terms with him or her. Again, this is in an effort to make sure that you don't fall asleep. And of course, I'll ask you to share with me some of your responses. Do we have some mobile microphones so we can maybe give them to some of the people who would like to answer this question? Yes, please. Okay, your time is up. Who wants to volunteer with an answer? Let's start with digitization. What is that? Any volunteer before I appoint a volunteer? What is digitization? All right, let me see. The gentleman here in front of me, second row. You are a winner.
I think my guess is anything that you can convert to digital mean, for example, binary numbers or another way to sort information in the digital formats. That's what I assume is a digitalization.
Yeah, good answer. So your colleague is saying anything that you can turn from analog or paper-based to digital. Example, this document. This is paper-based, this is analog. If I scan it, I have now a digital file. But obviously, I don't change the content. The same content moves from paper to digital. That is digitization. You digitize a task, a document, or an operation. What is then digitalization? Any volunteer before I appoint somebody? Maybe the lady over here. No, the lady here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I think digitalization is how you convert your work process into digital process.
Excellent. This is a very smart audience. I'm impressed. You are right.
Thank you.
Digitalization is moving from traditional analog process to a digital business process. Example, moving to a digital supply chain management process. What is digital business transformation then? This side has been very quiet. Let me see if I have a volunteer from this side. How about the gentleman over there with the gray? Yourself turning your head. Can we have the microphone here, please? Yeah, the gentleman there. No, yeah, that's him. What is digital business transformation for you?
The digital business transformation is about the creation and the means to change the business from traditional to be the digital one.
Okay, so you use two keywords: change the business through digital. You didn't say change a document, an operation, a task. You did not say change a process. You said the business itself. Yeah. So we said transformation is about changing the business through digital technologies and related business models. So when I said before, I digitize this, I can do that by scanning it, but I don't change the content. That's why it's only digitization. If I change the content and transform it, then at a corporate level, then that's digital business transformation, which calls for innovation. You cannot transform something if you don't have a different way, a better way of doing it. To do that, you better be creative and innovative. So let me suggest to you a definition there, and then we'll move to some examples. So digital business transformation is organization-wide change through the use of digital technologies and innovative business models to improve corporate performance. In the rest of my presentation, I will share with you some results coming out of our IMD Cisco Global Center for Digital Business Transformation, which we set up 3.5 years ago at IMD Lausanne. So again, I hope that now we have a clear understanding of the vocabulary and we understand what is what. When I talk to some executives typically about the topic, they say, yes, we have a digitization project. Well, fine, but that is not digital business transformation. So we should not confuse or use these words in a different way to refer to what it is really about. So we recognize there are three key elements in a digital business transformation journey. First of all, why transforming? What is the case for change? Especially if a company is profitable and leading. You know the adage, you don't change a winning team. So if you are a leader and a profitable, why transforming? That's stage one. Once you have built the case for change, and hopefully you had convincing arguments for that, stage number two, what shall we transform inside the company? And thirdly, how to do it. The execution, the implementation, the delivery. So I will try to touch on the why, what, and how of digital business transformation. First of all, on the why. I want to share with you the conclusion of a study that was presented a couple of years ago at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And the conclusion of the study said, digital is the main reason just over half of the Fortune 500 companies have disappeared since the year 2000. And yet we are only at the beginning of the digital disruption. For me, that is a wake-up call. Why? Because in the year 2000, digital technologies were rather primitive compared to the technologies of today. And yet, look at the impact they had on some of the largest companies. Half of those have disappeared because they couldn't compete on the digital front. So those companies who think, this is not for me, I'm doing fine, no need for transformation, no need to embrace digital, you may say that, but at your risk and peril. Some of these companies that disappeared ignored the digital dimension as a competitive weapon in the marketplace. So these technologies, I mentioned some of them, you are familiar with them. The business environment today is becoming more and more volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. That is the concept of VUCA that is used to refer to the business environment. And today we recognize a new breed of digital entrepreneurs, highly creative and innovative, who are agile and who are fast in execution. And before you and I know it, they create what we call unicorns, or over $1 billion type of startups. So you may tell me, well, we have seen this type of digital entrepreneurs over the years. We know of course, different type of, whether it is Steve Jobs, whether it is Mark Zuckerberg, who at the age of 21 has created Facebook. Bill Gates, at the age of 22, having created Microsoft. Well, the new digital entrepreneurs are not in their 20s or 30s. They are teenagers. They are age 13, 14, and 15. Look at this kid here. He's already worth $200 million at the age of 13. What do these kids have to be so successful in digital innovation that you and I, or some of the people in your R&D centers and innovation departments don't have? What is the difference? Any reply? Why these teenagers are so successful through digital innovation that sometimes large companies' R&D departments cannot match their capability? Well, the short answer is these are born digital, growing up digital, thinking digital, behaving digital. While for a senior executive or a leader, it's quite a challenge to put himself or herself in the shoes of a digital native. Plus, these people, they are not afraid of failure. As they say, we either win, we never lose, we either win or learn. They don't have shareholders on their back, they don't have a brand equity, they don't have a large customer base to think about. For them, innovation, experimentation, trial and error is part of their DNA, and failure is a way of life. So again, this of course is food for thought as well. So what we are saying based on our research, if you look at these four forces which I mentioned, which are technologies, the VUCA word, the digital entrepreneurship, together they create what we call a digital vortex or a digital tsunami of sorts. Why a vortex? Because digital disruption acts like a vortex. It's unpredictable, uncontrollable, it can have a cascading effect. It's hard to predict its evolution patterns, and when it happens, it changes the rules of the game. So we did a major survey involving more than 1,600 executives, trying to understand to what extent digital technologies have disrupted industries and business sectors. Let me show you the result of that study. Let me show you the digital vortex. So here what we did, we mapped industries in 3 categories depending on the extent of digital disruption happening to them. As you can tell, at the center of the digital vortex, we find 5 industries. Media and entertainment, this is where we find Netflix that pushed out of business Blockbuster. Netflix is, of course, internet-based streaming of movies and videos. Here we find technology, products and services. Example, cloud-based computing that became today the name of the game in corporate IT services. Challenging packaged software. Thirdly, we find retail, Amazon.com, Alibaba.com, and financial services, including cryptocurrencies, PayPal, Bitcoin, blockchain, but also fintechs and tech fins. A lot of disruption happening in banking and financial services, as well as telecom. I used to be chairman of the board of a telecom operator, and telcos cannot today stick to voice and data business. Why? Because you and I, we need to communicate with each other, but not necessarily anymore through a telecom operator. We communicate through WeChat, Messenger, Facebook, whatever, Skype, Viber. So today, we have alternative ways to have even a free international call with video involved. Why would you pay a telco for just a voice international call? So clearly, telcos here are under pressure to transform their business and to think of moving to verticals or to other business sectors, be it e-health, e-education, e-energy, e-banking, or whatever it may be. So that's at the core of the vortex. Then, second category, we find education. Today, of course, online learning, MOOCs, massive open online courses. We find hospitality and tourism. Airbnb is here, challenging established physical hotel chains in a big way. And manufacturing, hopefully I may have a couple of minutes to tell you what GE has been doing through its Industrial Internet Initiative. And I know that at least we have a gentleman here from General Electric. Third category, transportation, real estate, healthcare, pharma, and utilities, energy. So here, disruption has started, but it is to a lesser extent compared to the other 2 categories. In pharma, the new value proposition is not to cure a patient suffering from a disease. The new value proposition is not a reactive service, but a proactive service based on predictive analytics. You are healthy as a person, how can I keep you healthy as long as possible? How can I predict possible diseases you may suffer from? And of course, this is through the gene sequencing analysis, the genome, but also through big data, wearable devices, and analytics and predictive algorithms that come up with scenarios based on your lifestyle, your gender, your age, your gene, etc. So what I'm saying, and as you know, Amazon.com has recently moved into the pharma business. And as Amazon has done it in many other sectors, they don't enter a new sector to play it by the same rules, but they enter a sector to disrupt it through digital. I mentioned Amazon, and we know today they are in so many different industries, as you can tell, including movie production. And last year, Amazon made it to the finals of the Oscars with the movies they produced. challenging Hollywood studios and the like. They are in physical retail in shops. And as you know, the latest innovation is the Amazon Go. There is no queuing, there is no cashier, there is no physical payment for your purchases. You go, pick the goods, and you leave the store. That is the Amazon Go value proposition, because these are the pain points for any customer. Queuing up, putting the goods on the belt, paying a cashier, putting the goods back on the cart, going to your car or whatever. They eliminated all those pain points in the customer journey when you go for grocery shopping. So here, again, another view of the industries where Amazon is today. And clearly, they are competing head-on with some of the world giants in different industries, as you can tell. Through cloud-based computing, where Amazon is today the world leader, they are competing with Microsoft, Google, and IBM. In payments with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, PayPal. In fulfillment with Federal Express, UPS, etc., etc., etc. So it's quite remarkable for a company to take on so many giant competitors in so many different industries at the same time and still to win or to be among the leaders in that industry. On a light note, let me show you Jeff Bezos. When he created his company more than 20 years ago, he looks quite humble, smiling, quite modest. And this is the Jeff Bezos of a few weeks ago. A lot of confidence, maybe a bit of arrogance, flexing muscles, seems knowing where he's going. And who should not be afraid today of Amazon.com? We saw they are number 2 as the most valued company in the world by market cap, only trailing with a small amount Apple Corporation. So as I said, this is again interesting perspective on things. In a recent interview, he was asked, where would you go next? You entered you started with book, online book retailing, then you moved to so many industries, including movie entertainment, including corporate IT services, recently the pharma industry. Where will you go next? He said, your high margin is my next business opportunity. If you are in a high margin business, watch out. IT is a high margin business. He's in that. Pharma is a high margin business. He's in that. So it's interesting as a cue regarding where this company may go next. So how can industry incumbents respond to digital disruptors? Amazon.com is a digital disruptor. Uber is another disruptor for taxis. Airbnb is a disruptor for hotel and hospitality. So there are different strategies. One is to retreat. We can say to some extent this is what some of the physical hotel chains have done in view of the threat of Airbnb to their business. You may know that last year alone, Airbnb had close to 100 million bookings on its digital platform. 100 million bookings in a single year. What physical hotel chain had 100 million guests in one single year? That does not exist. And today, Airbnb is valued more than the leader in the physical hotel business, that is the Marriott chain. So my point is, what can then physical hotel chains do? This is one of the strategy, retreat. Focus on the business customer. Focus on luxury and upscale hotels. And go easy on the hotel segment of the industry, because that's where Airbnb has made major inroads. But if you are a business, of course, you may need to send groups. You may need venues for seminars, for conferences, for conventions. Then, of course, Airbnb cannot challenge you, the hotel chain, as far as this segment is concerned. That's what I call a retreat strategy. Another strategy is business as usual. Harvest, milk the cash cow as long as it lasts. We saw this with Kodak. Kodak used to be the leader in the film-based camera, and although Kodak had invented the first digital camera, they did not go commercially with it, but they stick to the fat margin, high profit type of business, the film-based camera. That is a harvest strategy. Another strategy is occupy. Identify value vacancies, identify value niches, and try to be there first in order to outcompete your rivals. This is what GE has been trying to do, and I'll say more about it in a few minutes. And finally, disrupt yourself. If you think that you cannot make it in the face of digital disruption, you better disrupt yourself before others disrupt you. At least you can sell out the assets where they are still worth something, cash on them, and pay your shareholders, and move to another space, move to another market. This is what the Fuji Corporation has done in Japan. As you know, it used to be the Fujifilm company. They used to be in film-based cameras, but they did not have a digital camera, and they realized that they cannot win in that new game. So unlike Kodak, Fuji decided to disrupt itself. They moved out of the film-based camera business into chemicals and cosmetics. If you are in film-based camera, you know about chemicals. So they tried to use their know-how, their assets, to move to a new market space, and today they rebranded themselves. Not Fujifilms, but Fuji Corporation, and it is a profitable company. So these type of moves, they happen defensively in the presence or the advent of a digital vampire, or offensively because you identify a value vacancy that you want to seize. So this is a highly dynamic process, as you can see. It's not static by any means. Today's strategy may not be suitable next year or medium term. So we need to assess the environment, the digital threats, the new competitive moves, and the rules of the game, and decide what strategy may be appropriate for a given context. How can you create value through digital? There are three types of value. The first one is cost value. Offering a product or a service to the marketplace at a lower price, sometimes free of charge. In all situations, you offer an economic gain to customers and consumers. That is what we call cost value. Sometimes it's not about price leadership or price reduction. It's about the experience. The experience is differentiated or maybe unique, definitely superior than the one offered by your competitors. Thirdly, the company does not produce any service or any offering. The company leverages network effect. That's what we call the digital platform value. So the company connects the dots, puts members in touch with each other, and it is the member who creates the value for fellow members. Example, LinkedIn, Facebook, Airbnb, Uber. These companies don't create anything. Uber, the platform connects somebody who has a car with somebody looking for a ride. Airbnb connects somebody who has an apartment or a house with somebody who is looking for accommodation, etc. So let me show you some examples and the business models that go with these three different types of digital value. So here are some business models. Cost value in B2B, reverse online auctions, which we call buyer-led online auctions. So it's a buyer running an auction online with would-be suppliers. And the purpose here is to bring down the suppliers price-wise. And of course, the transaction goes to the lowest offered price. And that's the economic gain. You may have heard of Groupon.com. That's a buyer aggregation, a website that aggregates demand from different buyers, but it's similar demand, and then goes to the provider to buy in bulk and negotiate a lower price than what individual buyers can ever obtain. In customization, example, customer empowerment. The UK-based luxury clothing company, Burberry, allows customers online to design their own clothes by giving you access to their design database. So on their website, the customer becomes the designer. And at the end of the day, you have a Burberry trench coat uniquely yours. That's an example of a unique experience. You don't buy off-the-shelf, generic type of clothes. You design the clothes the way you like it and you prefer it. Finally, in the digital platform value, we talk about online communities. digital marketplaces, crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing, another term for open innovation. You source the idea, the value from the crowd out there. Example, Apple Corporation. What is the major differentiation of the Apple smartphone, the iPhone? It is the app on the iPhone. 97% of the apps running on the iPhone are user developed and not Apple developed. This is an example of crowdsourcing through a digital platform. So again, just to close on this, you see here different examples of companies present in each one of these digital values. Okay? And I already mentioned some of them. So ideally, of course, you should not think of this type of digital value as mutually exclusive. Ideally, you should try to combine in a single offering cost value, experience value, and platform value. That's how you can end up with strong value proposition that hopefully becomes sustainable over time. And these actually can be combined. I'll show you one example of combinatorial digital value offered through a single type of service. So, before I show you this, if I ask you the question, who is today the world leader in mobile phone only banking and financial services? Obviously, you saw the heading. The answer is M-Pesa from Kenya. Kenya has become the #1 country in the world in mobile phone-based banking financial services. This is a system that a government-owned telecom operator put in place in partnership with Vodafone many years ago, with a simple value proposition initially, which is to offer money transfer person to person through the mobile phone. Now the question is, why would a regulator grant a telecom operator a banking license? In most countries, financial services are highly protected, and other players in other sectors are not allowed to enter the sector. Well, in this case, Safaricom thought there are millions of citizens in Kenya who live in tiny villages or remote areas in mountains where there isn't a single physical branch of a bank. And these citizens were not served by the banks and financial service providers. So Safaricom thought, I can change geographical proximity to a bank branch by digital proximity through the mobile phone. So it asked the regulator to be given a license to serve these citizens that were excluded from the financial system. And that's how they started, through a simple SMS-based money transfer person to person. So, example, a parent can send to his child studying elsewhere pocket money, or can pay for tuition fees just through a mobile phone transaction. But after that, they added retailers. You can do all types of purchasing, including micro charges, and pay through your mobile phone. You can also use automatic teller machines or international remittances. If you are a worker in the UK and you want to send money back home, you can use Western Union as a service, or you can use M-Pesa. With M-Pesa, you pay a tiny fraction of the commission charged by incumbent companies, and the money arrives within a minute or two. And today, M-Pesa became a full-fledged financial service provider. You can have a current account, you can have a savings account, you can buy mortgage, you can buy bonds, all types of transactions. And today, of course, so there is the cost value. You are charged no fees or lesser fees than equivalent providers for financial transactions. It is experience value because your mobile phone becomes your wallet, your checkbook, your credit cards, your cash. And thirdly, platform value, because today there are more than 20 million people using M-Pesa. And think of all types of interactions and opportunities that arise from that. So again, look at the starting point. In Kenya, in 2009, there was a high mobile penetration rate, but a large unbanked population of over 80% of the Kenyan population was unbanked. Either they did not have a bank nearby, or they did not fulfill the criteria to open an account at a bank. Let's look at the situation a couple of years ago. The unbanked population has come down to only 18%, while it used to be above 80%. So this is an example of digital business transformation, a telecom operator moving into banking financial services. But number two, you can see the social and economic impact of this type of digital innovation. As I said, for me, the paramount benefit here is how to bring the economically excluded citizens in society into the financial system. So now the government or the finance ministry can have transparency over all these transactions that used to happen in the gray or black market. Number two, these transactions can be tracked and traced. For the users, it saves them time and it saves them cost, because now they can not travel to the nearby town where there is a bank branch. They can, within a minute or two, through their mobile phone, do all types of transactions. And obviously, as I said, there is a platform value by having over 20 million people sharing the same platform, and of course having opportunities for exchanges and transactions. Let me conclude this example by showing you to what extent M-Pesa has helped this telecom operator deepen the competitive gap with rival telecom operators in Kenya, and M-Pesa has played a key role in achieving that. And clearly, when we talk about competing telcos, we talk about big name telcos like Orange of France and Airtel of India, who are also present in Kenya. And today, what we see over 90, almost at 90% of Kenya's GDP passes through M-Pesa, which is, of course, tremendous. And the telco was able to generate over $330 million in fees and commissions charged for M-Pesa services. So again, I wanted to show you this as an example of combinatorial digital value, but also as an example of digital business transformation of an incumbent player in a certain industry moving, thanks to technology, to another sector, to a vertical. Now, to do that, a company has to be agile. You cannot change sectors at will. You cannot be one day a telco, next day you become a bank or financial service company, if you are not flexible and agile enough. So, what are the requirements to achieve digital business agility? There are three requirements in order to be able to respond successfully to digital disruption. Requirement number one is what we call here hyper-awareness. To what extent can the company monitor and detect changes in the business environment? Changes about technology trends, new business models, competitive moves. And we are saying not to be aware of it 6 months or 1 year after something happens, but to be hyper-aware, to become aware of it within days or a couple of weeks. Because, of course, in digital, time is of the essence and speed is paramount. But once you have these insights from the external business environment, to what extent you can incorporate that in your decision-making processes? To what extent you can use real-time data, advanced analytics, and to what extent you can take an outside-in perspective that is a customer-centric perspective, and you make decisions across silos in a highly collaborative way within the organization. Finally, fast execution. Making decisions, taking the right strategies is important, but what is maybe equally, if not more important, is the ability to execute, to turn those decisions quickly into action and effectively. So these are the three elements that, based on our research, we think are very important, are crucial for a company to have this digital business agility that is required for a successful digital transformation. Here is an example that I mentioned earlier, the example of GE, which the company started close to 10 years ago. So the company wanted to leverage on analytics, on sensors, the Internet of Things, and a new set of digitally enabled capabilities in order to propose a much stronger value proposition to its customers. And I'll show you that in a minute. But fundamentally, how to move from reactive service to an installed machine at the customer site to a proactive service based on predictive analytics. Instead of the customer calling GE to say, my jet engine has a technical breakdown or a failure, come quickly and fix it, the company, GE, the supplier, can detect in advance when an equipment is likely to have an unplanned downtime, as to be proactive and to fix it before a failure happens. So here is what Predix is about. Predix is the name of the digital platform that GE has developed in-house. As you can see again, it has these three elements I mentioned earlier. First of all, hyper-awareness, because now the machine has sensors built in that capture continuously data about the operational status or the performance level of that machine. This data is sent to a GE service center, is analyzed by predictive algorithms that detect, based on the incoming data, whether that machine is near a breakdown threshold. And if so, it alerts a repair mechanic to take proactive action because there is information revealing a pending issue. So before the machine reaches the breakdown, the GE service department will take the needed corrective action. And of course, once the decision is made there, as I said, the repair mechanic goes on site, or a piece of software is downloaded, or a spare part is sent. Ultimately, what's the point? The objective is obviously to improve proactively the efficiency and to the uptime of the machine. If you can enhance the uptime of the machine, certainly you are contributing to the productivity, to the revenues, and ultimately to the profit through that equipment. So again, the business model is quite remarkable, I think. If you look at traditional customer service agreements of any product manufacturer, it is very much what you have here. But what GE offered through Predix is risk sharing, profit sharing, as opposed to in the past, cashing in a flat fee based on a service contract. But today, what the company is saying, if I can help the customer optimize the asset and improve the outcome, then the customer will pay a percentage of that extra profitability that Predix enabled. So we can look at what it means. The margin of GE now can be higher if GE helps the customer achieve higher outcomes. And to do that, GE needs to have access to the customer operating data, which is the basis of detecting pending technical issues. And obviously, GE needs to have a much stronger knowledge of the domain of the customer in order to successfully optimize the use of the asset. So this is very brief, but I just wanted to show you the digital business transformation. In the past, GE and the like made the machine and sold it to a customer for a fee, and the customer may opt for a service contract. The new approach is still the same, but instead of a customer paying a flat fee for service per year, let's say, now the customer will pay based on the fact whether GE has helped the customer to achieve higher outcomes or not, which means if the customer is successful, then of course the supplier becomes more successful from a financial point of view. So if I try to summarize from this example, this is the GE that has existed for more than 130 years. It's a product-centric company, providing different types of products to different types of industries, from energy to transportation to healthcare, etc. And this is the new GE, or at least the direction of the new GE, to be more customer-centric. not to be inside out, but to become outside in. That is, if I can help the customer become more successful, then I, the supplier, I will become more profitable. Your success, the customer, becomes my success, the supplier. And obviously, we are not anymore in customer-supplier relationship. We are now into business partnership. So again, for me, this is the disruptive innovation through digital that this company is trying to put in place and to have a first mover advantage vis-a-vis other large physical product manufacturers. And my conclusion based on this example, if GE, a company that is today 140 years old, a company that employs close to 350,000 employees, and that is present in 6 totally different industries in 200 plus countries, if this company can transform itself and its business, why not some of your companies, which are smaller in terms of scope, smaller in terms of geographies you cover, and you have a fewer staff members, not 350,000, and you are younger than 140-year-old giant companies. So again, at least this hopefully motivates the action and hopefully gives you an inspiration. Now, this morning I heard the finance minister talking about how important SMEs or small, medium-sized enterprises are in Thailand. You may tell me my examples have been about, large physical hotel chains like the Marriott, large product manufacturers like GE. You may say, how about small enterprises? Because we have so many of them in Thailand. Let me share with you an example of a Swiss small enterprise that has only 60 employees, a family business, which has been for 2 generations producing bed mattresses. They produce a mattress for bed, and they sell it to individuals and they sell it to some B2B, like hotels. Now, this company recently thought to use digital to transform its business. What they did, they put a chip inside the mattress. First of all, what they did to the B2B customers, like hotel chains, we are willing to equip your hotel rooms free of charge with bed mattresses, saving you a major investment. Because if you have hundreds of rooms and a single mattress sells at 300 Swiss francs, well, obviously, that's not a small line of investment. So this mattress production company told B2B customers, I have traditional model, I sell for a fee. I have a new model, which is called the Smart Lease. I equip your hotel rooms free of charge. I have a chip inside the mattress. Through the chip, I know whether that hotel was booked that night or not. If the mattress was used, I charge you 50 cents per night, product and service included. If the room was not booked that night, you owe me nothing, which means risk sharing, profit sharing. If you make money, you pay me 50 cents per mattress per night. If you don't make money, you pay me nothing. How? Through IoT and sensors. And the company now knows in advance when a mattress needs repair, maintenance, replacement, whatever. The hotel manager does not need to call them to have an issue with your mattress, come and fix it. So again, this company was able to increase by 50% its customer base since they introduced what they call the Smart Lease model. Again, this is a small company based outside of Lausanne in Switzerland. I put a name here, but it's not for the advertising purpose. You can look up their website. So here again an example of a small enterprise that totally changed the value proposition to its customers by using digital and transforming their business from selling to leasing. And from a hotel manager calling them to report issues of maintenance, repair, or replacement to themselves proactively knowing when they should intervene. So more or less like the GE example, but applied to a small enterprise through predictive analytics. Let me, last concept I want to share with you. This is, I'm on the how to transform, the execution. What you see here is a framework that we came up with. It's a roadmap for digital execution. So if you want to get started in your company about digital transformation, keep in mind the definition. We said it's organization-wide change. You see here the organization. You see the different function of a company. So first of all, once you have defined your business strategy, once you have defined the type of value driver that you want to achieve through digital, and I have already defined this before, next is you have to look at these different dimensions. First of all, what is the digitally enabled offering that I want to offer to the market? What product, what service, what solution? How will I go about its marketing and sales? Is it wholesale? Is it retail? Is it e-commerce? Is it m-commerce? Is it social media-based promotion? Number two, how can I have digital engagement with my customers? I just gave you the example of this mattress company. Now through digital, they have continuous engagement with the customer because they know when to intervene, when to repair, when to replace a faulty equipment. How can we create a digital business ecosystem with partners? The case of GE, Predix is not only for GE. It's a GE, customers, technology companies, third-party providers, etc. So of course, through digital, you should not try to do all by yourself internally. You should open up and create a digital business ecosystem. To what extent is your HR and your workforce digitally savvy? That's also very, very important because who is otherwise going to implement this digital strategy? IT, what role should IT play in a digital transformation? IT should not just remain as a support tool to implement a strategy. IT should become a business enabler for value creation and digital transformation, which means it's not us versus them, IT versus the business departments. It's we together. And the head of IT, in many companies, I saw him or her being given a seat on the management team of the company. Empower IT, elevate IT, not just to play a technical role, but to play more of a business enablement type of role. And obviously, what type of organizational structure? Who should lead the digital business transformation in a company? Should you create a CDO position, Chief Digital Officer position? Or should the CIO lead it? Or should the CEO lead it? Who will be in charge of this? And is the corporate culture ready for the digital business transformation? Are you willing to foster innovation and to embrace change and this new digitally enabled way of operating? So as you can see, this looks like a piano. We call it actually the digital piano. And you should not play individual keys on the piano. You should play chords. You should look at all dimensions that are likely to be affected by digital transformation. I have one example, but I don't have the time for it. This is an example from Burberry, how Burberry went about its digital business transformation. Let me go to the piano. And I want to show you here the different dimensions happening there. So very briefly, you can see how this company, from loss-making company, unprofitable and losing the luxury image, the company deciding to focus on Gen Y customers mainly in Asia, and from selling only through physical stores, putting in place an e-commerce strategy. The company created the CDO position to take care of the transformation. And they hired the new digitally savvy young people in order to lead the digital change. Also, from fragmented IT systems, they put in place a global CRM, removed the cashier corner in stores, and equipped salespeople with iPads, like in an Apple store, and also created on mobile phones a new e-commerce capability. Online, I mentioned this before, the company allowed customers to design their own clothes. So the customer online becomes the designer. And from traditional engagement to a very strong social media type of engagement. So when you look at this slide, I wanted to illustrate how that digital piano looks like when you apply it to a company for a digital business transformation. Let me show you some data about the social media strategy at Burberry. On Twitter, the company has 4 million followers. On Facebook, 16 million likes. On YouTube, 26 million views and 170,000 subscribers. Imagine 1 or 2% of these people become active buyers of the company products. And you see what it means. This company website has been increasing by double digits since it went live. 1 year, it increased by more than 52%. This company, Burberry, has become the benchmark in digital business transformation among luxury companies. So let me sum it up because my time is over. So the different concepts and frameworks I shared with you briefly this afternoon should not be thought of in isolation of each other, but you should look at them as a continuum. I started talking about the digital vortex. That's very much why should a company consider transformation? Because of the disruption happening in your industry. Number two, based on that, you should think, what type of digital value I want to create? Is it cost value? Is it experience value or platform value? Shall I change my business strategy or keep the same, defensively and offensively? And what type of capabilities shall I put in place or pay attention to in order to enhance my digital business agility? And finally, how to implement my digital strategy within the organization. And you recall these different dimensions which I showed you before. So look at these different concepts as the output of one concept, of one framework, serving as an input to the next framework, to the next concept. My conclusion is a couple of quotes. The first one is from a management guru of the name of Peter Drucker, who said, "The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence, it is to act with yesterday's logic." Digital disruption today is the cause of the turbulence. And you cannot face the turbulence and thrive in the future by keeping the same strategies and the same business models. You have to question assumptions. You have to rethink what you do, what you create, and how to capture value. And finally, it is not the strongest or the fittest species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the ones most responsive to change. So the question is, are you changing? Are you changing enough in the face of digital disruption? All the best to you.